The following is a paid commercial program. Unless otherwise identified, the guests on the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of 900 CHML.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new show here on 900 CHML. It is called Human Behavior Decoded. My name's Rick Samprin, and with me today is Tree Ride, a certified hypnotist and human behavior expert at Burlington Hypnosis Center. Tree, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Thanks for coming in.
Exciting.
This is a very exciting show, and you know, you came up with the name. I love the name because there's a lot to decode when it comes to human behavior.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people, they end up in unuseful behaviors, right? And this is all caused from human behavior. And it's all stemmed from the nervous system. Because the truth is us as humans, we cannot unexperience things. Right.
That's
and so we cannot unexperience things. And Rick, what happens is every moment of every single day, we are in an emotional state. Us as humans, we are in an emotional state every moment of every day. And that could be happy, sad, lonely, angry, all kinds of different things. And it really is stemmed through the nervous system. I'm sure you've experienced sometimes that you're just like, oh, why is this upsetting me? Or, you know, why is somebody else's behavior, or why is somebody behaving in this way? And the truth is, sometimes you'll just never know. But each and every single individual, if they learn how to really decode their emotional state, their behavior, it'd be a very different world. It would also be a different world for that individual as well. So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we teach people how to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited because over the next hour, and I think all our listeners are going to learn about how we can go about doing this and how you can go about doing this. And I'm talking to you, the listener, as you can book a free hypnosis screening online at burlingtonhypnosis.ca or by calling 905-634-4777. So, Tree, you are a certified hypnotist. You are a human behavior expert, and you're also a member of the Master Hypnotist Society of the United States and Canada. Let me ask you, how in the world did you get into this line of work?
Oh, yeah. So this is an interesting story. So I actually started off in the fashion industry. And I worked there for about 13 years.
Okay. Like designing clothes?
Yes. Wow. Pretty much everything. I started sewing when I was like 6 years old. Myself, I was overweight, so I'd get hand-me-downs from my sister, and I had to alter them to fit me.
Okay.
So, and that's back in the day when sewing machines were readily available, or your parent had one, and not giving away my age at all. But yeah, and so I just sort of accidentally fell into it because there was an elective in high school, and I was like, hey, that's like a really easy course for me to do because I know how to sew. And it turned into doing fashion shows. And then when I was 18, opened my own business and did a bunch of fashion shows in Toronto. I had my own design studio for a short stint as well. But it was a lot of fun, but I was tired after so many years, and the industry changed. So the industry changed. All things got shipped overseas for manufacturing and things like that. So I really do think that at that point in time, I was really interested in people, because I was working with a very diverse group of people through those 13 years. And then after that, I decided to get into yoga. And from the fashion industry, I actually had no idea what I kind of wanted to do, because any yoga instructor out there, it's not really a career unless you own a studio or whatnot, right? And so from there, I decided, I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And because I was self-employed, I never really went for a job interview unless like in high school. So I decided to just go out on like any and every job interview. And some people, like the job, they look at me and they're like, do you want to work here? And I just like, and my mood or energy, I was just kind of like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And so let's check out this business or that business. And it turned out that a marketing company actually hired me. Not because I had a marketing background, but because I was very much a people person. So that was another kind of clue. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. And so through that, I learned even more about people. And then that put me in touch with Robbie Spear-Miller, which is the founder of the Burlington Hypnosis Center. Okay. She also owns Hypnosis Training Canada, so we're out of the same location. So I was doing marketing for her, and I was like, okay, this is very cool for when I'm teaching yoga, because people would get into movements in their body, but they wouldn't get out of their head. Right? So they would, get too fixated on, is this pose good enough, or looking at the person next to them. And so I really initiated taking the hypnosis training at Hypnosis Training Canada for that initially. And then it just turned into another love for me. And genuinely, I truly care about all humans, and anyone that's ever met me could probably, vouch for me for that as well. And because human change is so important, things change and things around us change. And so many people, they can either get frustrated or learn how to change, learn how to move through the emotions of what's happening around them. So yeah, that's really sort of how it started. And then through COVID, Robbie was so busy, and I was working for her anyways. And she's like, just, hey,
try this out.
Yeah, and I did, and that's over almost 3-4 years. I forget how long ago that was, but I've been doing hypnosis for over a decade now. So that's how I started. But it's amazing, all of us as humans, of how much we can change, or guiding people through how it is that they can change to create their own human betterment. It's truly amazing.
When did you figure out you were good at it? Because anyone who starts something, there's a learning curve, there's a process to go through, training, as you explained. When did you figure it out?
That's a very good question. I don't know if there's one moment where I can pinpoint it. I know that for a very long period of time, dare I say almost my whole life, I've been fascinated about humans and human behavior itself. So even at a very young age, I was raising myself, really. So I had to navigate through getting my needs met in terms of guidance, in terms of what I needed as a human being. So I think at a very young age, accidentally, just from circumstance, that I was very curious. So that curiosity just continued all throughout my life, and still does. And I believe that curiosity allows me, or is part of the tool within me that allows me to be so curious about the human in front of me. So, because every single human being is completely different, right? If people are looking at themselves and saying, oh, I'm like this or I'm like that, well, you don't want to be definitive. You don't want to be stepping into an identity that you're just, oh, well, I'm like this. Well, things change all the time, right? Like even for you, Rick, for example, at some point in time, you were a teenager, right? And you're very different.
Many moons ago, yes.
Yeah. And so, and then, you decided to get some sort of education, and then you had friends, and then, as we progress, we either get married, or we find a partner, or we just live with the partner. But there's so many options. But sometimes when people say, oh, I'm like this, they're limiting themselves from options, right? They're creating rules that they're choosing for themselves. And we're lucky here in Canada that we don't have very many rules. So when people are putting it on themselves, they want to really start to recognize the options that they do have.
What's really neat about human beings that I found too is, you can live your life so many different ways because of those choices and those options. And if you believe in reincarnation, your next life is going to be still vastly different than the one that you lived before, which I find just fascinating.
It is fascinating, and that's really what one of the things that I really love about what I do is that, one, every single human being is so different, and it's like it can change on a dime. Right? Things happen in everyone's life. Everybody's been through certain things, some not so great things, and some really great things. And so it's really learning how to get your mind and emotions in the right place, because all of us, we can focus on all of the, unuseful things that we've been through in our lives, but that's unuseful, right? So why not learn if hey, if we're all making up stories in our head, right? That's what we do. We think all day long. And most of it, we're really making it up. Even if it is true, we're making up our version of that truth, right? And so if we're making it up anyways, why not learn how to make up the things that make you feel good, that make you get towards your outcomes, your goals, and all of those great things that even get you motivated.
That's a great point. By the way, if you want to book a free hypnosis screening, and we'll get into how this all works, you can call 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. Or online, the website is burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Again, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. And you're listening to Human Behavior Decoded here on 900 CHML. Tree Ride is a certified hypnotist and human behavior expert with Burlington Hypnosis Center. So the word hypnosis, some people will hear that word and think, it's a sham, it doesn't work, it'll never work for me. It's worked for a lot of people because you're proof positive. You've been in this industry for, 10 plus years and you've helped a lot of people. How do you help people through hypnosis?
Well, in many, many things that we do as human beings, it stems from the nervous system, right? The nervous system or subconscious. Right? It's like, so an example of hypnosis, and hey, Rick, you've experienced many hypnosis-like states in your life. And I'll describe that in a second. But it's interesting, and you're absolutely right. People think like, step over here on stage and, you will experience the most divine thing ever, right? Like, and people, when they come in, I will literally stand up and just say, hey, I can talk like this all day long if you like, but, it may not change what it is that you're coming here to change for. But, and I love poking fun because the truth is us as humans, we need to have fun as we're changing as well. So one, we do make it fun. So let's go back to you experiencing hypnosis-like state. An example of that is if you're watching a movie or TV show, you laugh when it's funny, you cry when it's sad. That is an emotional hypnosis-like state.
Wow. We're going to get into more of what this and how it can work for you, whether you want to lose weight, stop smoking, you want to manage some of the stress that is built up because, in these high inflationary times, everyone is kind of stressed out to a certain degree. If you want to book a free hypnosis screening, call today, 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777, or go online, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. More of Human Behavior Decoded coming up next here on 900 CHML.
You're listening to a paid commercial program. Unless otherwise identified, the guests on the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of 900 CHML.
Welcome back. You are listening to Human Behavior Decoded on 900 CHML. Rick Samprin with Tree Ride. Tree is a certified hypnotist and human behavior expert at Burlington Hypnosis Center. Find them online at burlingtonhypnosis.ca. That's also where you can book your free hypnosis screening, burlingtonhypnosis.ca, or call them at 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. Tree is also a member of the Master Hypnotist Society of Canada and the U.S. And we were just starting to get into hypnosis, how it works, how the central nervous system is obviously the central part of this whole equation. If you have one, and everyone does, you're able to, come to a better conclusion, whatever the pain or the addiction, if you will, needs to be subsided. So let's get into addictions, for example. Someone is a smoker. They've come to the conclusion that they need to quit, and they feel that hypnosis might be the way it all works. So how do you approach this?
Yeah, so one thing that I want to mention is that many people have preconceived notions that they're addicted to nicotine. And the truth is that there is no such thing as being addicted to nicotine. And if there was, we'd have nicotine patch addicts running around, and we don't. Or we'd have nicotine addiction clinics, and we don't, right? So it's like a lot of people, they're looking for the answer, and they're like, oh, well, I'm addicted. And no, it's literally a pattern, right? Like just, for example, you, Rick, you put one shoe on first, then the other one. You don't know why. You might put your left one on, then your right, or your right one on, then your left, but you don't actually think about it. Right?
Right.
You don't mentally think and there's so many things, even when we're brushing our teeth, we don't think like brush, 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 brush. You're in other thoughts, right? And so it's the same thing. So So what it is that we offer is people come in for the free screening, and it's important that I describe this because this it answers the question at the same time. Okay. So the free screening that we offer, it's fun, it's informative. We answer everybody's questions at that time, and we do it because everyone is so different. When people come in to quit smoking or to lose weight, or for sleep or stress management, these are all really just symptoms of what's really going on. So we need to find out more about the person, right? And, anything from, say, a single mom with 4 kids to somebody that's just becoming retired. We've had people that are on oxygen that, they need to quit smoking, or somebody that just found out they're pregnant and they need to quit smoking, and any variation in between that. But it really is about allowing people to level with what is really going on with them. And being a human behavior expert, we can kind of pull those things out, just even by observing, again, that curiosity word, again, being curious and discovering what's really going on with the person. And people come there and they're so appreciative because it's almost like a relief of like, oh, wow, okay, I can change this. And, there is light at the end of the tunnel for me, for sure. And that's true for every human being. And I wish that for every human being for change.
Very interesting. If you do want to book that free hypnosis screening, call today, 905-634-4777. Again, that's 905-634-4777. Or go to the website, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Again, that's burlingtonhypnosis.ca. So these screenings, I would imagine, are done one-on-one. You're getting to know about the person. In the hypnosis state, if you will, what happens and how are you able to manipulate a positive outcome?
Well, I want to change one word that you said there.
Sorry.
I don't manipulate anybody, but that would be a really cool industry to be in. So if I could actually, if my husband would hear, he'd be like, I make the bed now. I'm not sure why. Yeah, right. But yeah, no, there's no manipulation going on, but that would be cool. So yeah, and just to laugh a little bit more about that, sometimes I do get calls from like spouses wanting their other spouses to change. And
really?
And that's why too we need to do the free screening, because if somebody doesn't want to be there and they don't want to change, we can't force them to change. Right? Like, I always joke about that too. Am I aging myself? The show, I Dream of Jeannie,
yes.
Right? You're like with the nod of the like crossing the arms, nod of the head.
Right.
And I make fun about that too. Hey, if I had that kind of talent, right? It'd be a whole different interview.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so when people are in a relaxed state, they're more susceptible to suggestion, right? They're more susceptible to making change. If somebody is in a stressed state, hey, nobody's ever said like, yeah, I made the best decision of my life when I was super stressed. Nobody says that, right? It's easier to make better decisions for yourself when you're learning tools and techniques to keep yourself calm, relaxed, and to really get yourself in the right direction of where you want to go, what your specific outcome is.
So in that relaxed state, the mind is obviously at rest and it's not racing. You're not thinking about a million things. So you're really able to hone in on whatever they need help with. Is that a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement, yes. And another, what I'm going to add to that, Rick, is that it's also the body. Okay. A lot of people, they have a misconception or preconceived notion that it's like, oh, the mind, I need to turn the mind off. Well, hey, if the mind was turned off, that's not good, right? Like, and even when you look at like people that are heavily into meditation, it's not that they're turning the mind off, they're slowing it down and directing it in the proper place, right? And that's true, but it's also change happens in physiology first. So we're really giving people the actual experience that they need, right? So lots of people, they come and they've read this book or that book or, and it's like, but you're still here, you haven't changed yet, right? Like, and which is good, right? And so, cause they need to have the experience. It's just not about reading about it. It's not about, this is the steps. It's having the experience. So when people are in this beautiful hypnosis state of relaxation, that they're more susceptible to suggestion, they're more in the imagination state of their mind, where the mind goes, the body follows. So you're creating the stories that need to happen for that specific person and whatever their outcome is, which also in turn allows the body to relax. And again, we make better decisions for ourselves when we are in a calm, relaxed state.
Makes a lot of sense. BurlingtonHypnosis.ca is the website to go to book your free hypnosis screening. Again, that's BurlingtonHypnosis.ca, or call them at 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. I've always wondered about this, hypnosis. And I know everyone's different, but how long does it usually take for that person to reach the state in which you can start making those suggestions?
Oh, wow. For some people, it's like that.
Really?
Yeah. And hey, if you're driving, if you're driving, keep your eyes open.
Yes, please.
Because you're listening to the sound of my voice, right? Like for a lot of people, it happens quite quickly. For some people, it happens quickly because they're just so stressed out. They're just like, oh, okay, I just need to relax. For some people, they're just, easy to roll with it. For some people, if they're, if they're not used to relaxed state, then sometimes that's where we start first is, oh, okay, how is it that this person can relax? And that's what I'm looking at is creating the pathway so that they can walk down that pathway and allow themselves to relax and do it themselves, even when they're not in the clinic. And that's really the outcome is, getting them. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So they're the ones that's really learning how to interact with themselves in a new way, right? Like, I always joke with clients, I'm like, hey, you don't want to see me every single time, right? Like, some of my clients will joke and be like, hey, can you fit in my pocket? Can I take you everywhere? It's like, you don't want to do that. You want to learn how to do it yourself.
Sure, yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So when people are hypnotized, and is that a proper term?
Yep.
Okay. How long are they usually hypnotized for? Is it a few minutes? Is it half an hour? What is the average?
Well, Rick, it's their entire life, actually.
You're under your spell forever.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I am kind of being tongue in cheek, but it's a little bit of the truth because, we're already all in our own hypnotic trance, right? We all have this, our own belief systems of how we believe that we look to the external world, how we feel in our own internal world. We have our own, concepts of this or that or the other thing. And literally we are all in our own hypnotic trance, right? Like in the way that we keep our house, whether we make our bed or we don't make our bed or, so it's really, getting out of unuseful hypnotic trances and getting into new hypnotic trances that suits the outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone were to come see you and you're delivering your, hypnotic suggestions.
Delivering my hypnotic suggestions.
I know I'm saying all the long words.
Can I use that, Rick?
Definitely.
Can I use that? I like that.
Trademark it, please.
Yes.
Is it 5 minutes? Is it half an hour? Is it different?
Yes, it's absolutely different.
Okay.
And it's really whatever the person needs.
Okay.
Yeah, like good question, absolutely, but it's really whatever the human in front of me needs. And we treat every client with that. Hey, if I could predict all that, again, I'd be in a very different business.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily, listen, if I want to quit smoking, it's a 5-minute procedure. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to be there for 10 minutes at least, right? Everyone is different because, everyone's different.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing. I mean, when you look at, the diversity in Canada or even in other countries, thank goodness we're all different, right? And everybody's on their own journey and awesome. Right. And it keeps my job interesting.
I would imagine so. Is the, techniques you use different when it comes to the different ailments or issues that people deal with? Do you go about it in a different way? Let's say someone wants to quit smoking and someone wants to lose weight. Is the technique the same?
I'm going to answer the first one.
Okay.
It's totally different all the time.
Okay.
We have hundreds of techniques that we can use. So we use what's called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming techniques. Okay. We also use different human archetypes, different things, different concepts in the suggestions. Everything is completely unique. So yes, we may use a similar technique for different people coming in for different reasons, but it would be completely catered to that human,
Right.
to whatever's going on, so there's all kinds of flexibility. So there absolutely is no one size fits all. But so it's really, really unique to the human. Truth be told, we have thousands of techniques and different things that we can do, but we're really looking at, and I say we because I have other hypnotists that works also at the Burlington Hypnosis Center. Hey, if it was all me, I'd bet that the girls that work for me, they're amazing, and great hypnotists as well. So we all use all kinds of different techniques to get that person to the outcome, and so that they can replicate that for themselves and then move on to the next goal. Yeah.
Is there one habit to break that is harder than the other?
Nope. It's habits in general. If people are resistant, right? Like some people, they get so stuck in their rules. They're like, oh, well, and again, that person that if they're like, well, if they believe that I'm like this, well, I don't know if I'm like this, then, well, but that's their belief.
Right.
And so if they're choosing to continue to believe that but even through the screening, they're learning so much about themselves. So that loosens up quite quickly, which is a good thing because we change. Every day we wake up and we're a different human, right? Yeah. We've learned all kinds of stuff from the day before. So
it's not necessarily the habit, it's the person, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just really, we keep it as high level as unuseful habits and transitioning into useful habits. Right? So when you look at, everyone knows that you shouldn't smoke. Nobody wakes up in the morning, oh, let me light up and kill myself a little bit more. Like that's not what they're thinking. Right. They're either talking to themselves in their head, they're thinking about the what ifs, or they're in worry. Same with weight loss. Nobody wakes up in the morning, oh, how much food can I eat today? And, it's not, that's not the thought process. So it really is just the symptoms. Like people are stress eating, or they're in an emotional state and they're trying to run away from the emotional state. They don't know, they haven't learned the tools to learn how to move through the emotional state, whatever it is that they're in. And I'm using the word emotion in a very loose term. Some people like the word energy or whatever. So whatever term people prefer, change that word for you.
We've got a couple minutes. I do want to ask you about and I know everyone's different. This is really a difficult conversation to have because everyone is different.
Yeah.
But is there an average time in which someone comes to see you and they are quote unquote cured of whatever they came to see you for? Is it a month? Is it a year? Again, everyone is different, right?
Yeah. And it can happen as fast or as slow as the person's ready to surrender into the change to even, and it depends on the severity of what's going on. Like I've, if somebody is 100 pounds overweight as opposed to just wanting to lose 20 pounds, that's going to make a difference in time, right? It really depends on the person. A lot of people, it happens very quickly. Right.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
If you want to book your free hypnosis screening, call today, 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. Or go online to burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Again, that website, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. More of Human Behavior Decoded next on 900 CHML.
You're listening to a paid commercial program. Unless otherwise identified, the guests on the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of 900 CHML.
Welcome back. This is Human Behavior Decoded on 900 CHML. My name's Rick Zamprin, in studio with Tree Ride, certified hypnotist and human behavior expert at Burlington Hypnosis Center. Call them today for a free hypnosis screening. Book it at 905-634-4777. Again, that's 905-634-4777, or online at burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Tree is also a member of the Master Hypnotist Society of Canada and the U.S., and we're talking about, well, losing weight, quitting smoking, being a better you at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I know you've helped a tremendous amount of people, whether it's managing stress, kicking the habit, whether it's smoking or losing weight, just becoming a better individual. It must be a fun job at the end of the day, seeing all these people walk out the door eventually saying, wow, and I would imagine a lot of people did not believe it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like a little bit of skepticism, which is a good thing because there's like the mystery, mm-hmm. right? And life is about the mystery, right? And it's very interesting that like a lot of our clientele is referrals too, right? And even with people that quit smoking, like they walk out like, yeah, I don't know, like, oh, like I'm non-smoker now.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, yeah, you are. It's like, that's what you came here for, right? Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy. And so, it's cool that, I had one client and all the stories that you hear about clients, I have written permission that I can actually share their stories. I just want to state that.
Excellent. So they're real stories.
Yes, they are real stories. So this one woman, she came in, she's an 80-year-old pig farmer, and it was really cool because she, would travel all around the world to teach people how to pig farm.
Okay.
Cool. And so she was 80 and she came in to quit smoking, and she quit and she came and she goes, yeah, like every time I'm walking around the farm, like I feel like I'm forgetting something. And it's because she would carry her cigarettes around with her. So she'd like stop for a second and she's like, I know I'm 80. But yeah, and so it's different things, and it's like, she's like, yeah, every time I do that, I remind myself, and it's like this relief, it's freedom, mm-hmm. right? And that's really what a lot of people are looking for, is going towards freedom or loosening up things. And there's different themes too that come through the clinic right now. I have a lot of couples, right? I have permission to share this story. I had this one couple that this woman came in and she was very angry. She swore up and down that her husband was cheating on her. Mm-hmm. And so she got him to come in to talk because they wanted to repair things with their relationship. Right. And it turned out when I was talking to him, he's like, well, I know my wife, she just wanted me to make more money. And so I'm working more. And for her, she actually wanted more time with him.
Wow.
So she just assumed that he was cheating, and she created these stories in her head about, well, he's late, he's this, he's that, or, and they had a good laugh about it afterwards. But it really is a communication things, and it's an example of people, what they're making up in their mind, right? Mm-hmm. So when people end up learning how to be more curious about, what could it be, right? The truth is we're all in our head about ourselves, how we think people think about us, or, and then that turns us into an emotional state. Right? We can get into anger. We can think all kinds of things about other people.
Right.
But when you learn how to stay in a curiosity point of view, especially when it comes to marriages, best friends, siblings, we just had Thanksgiving not too long ago. So a lot of people notice, even if they're coming in for weight loss or to quit smoking, they even notice that they're communicating differently with themselves, which then in turn, they're communicating differently with other people. Mm-hmm. And they find that relationship with self and others change dramatically, right? So many people, they end up writing testimonials about like, I came in for this, but this, that, and this changed as well.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing. And not only, like, we're all human and hey, we're changing anyways. So why not learn more about how to have a better relationship with yourself as well?
We have just about a minute in this segment. Do you deal with a lot of couples, not necessarily just from a cheating perspective, but just a betterment perspective?
I love the way you word things, Rick. Do you deal with a lot of couples? I work with a lot of couples.
Okay.
Yeah, and the answer is yes. And a lot of times what happens is one of the couple will come in and the other one's like, wow, they're changing. I need to get on board with this.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, whether it's weight loss, they notice that one person's like losing the weight and they're like, ooh, and they wanted to lose weight as well,
Right.
or either quit smoking or even just stress management. Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting because especially when one person is seeing some success and the other one wants to follow,
Yeah.
they're in sync. They just have to get on the same page, right?
Yeah, and it really is about communication because they begin to realize that, oh, I was in resentment or I was angry and, oh, I don't have to be and this feels better.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great success stories because now you're taking two people to a great place, which must be pretty thrilling.
Absolutely. Hey, it makes the world a better place,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
We have one more segment to come. Don't go away. To book your free hypnosis screening, call today, 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. BurlingtonHypnosis.ca is the website. You can also book a free hypnosis screening there. BurlingtonHypnosis.ca. Some final thoughts and more great stories from Tree Ride, certified hypnotist and human behavior expert. You're listening to Human Behavior Decoded on 900 CHML.
You're listening to a paid commercial program. Unless otherwise identified, the guests on the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of 900 CHML.
And last go round here on Human Behavior Decoded on 900 CHML. Rick Samprin with Tree Ride. Tree is a certified hypnotist and human behavior expert at Burlington Hypnosis Center. Call them today to book your free hypnosis screening. 905-634-4777. Again, that's 905-634-4777. Online, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Again, that's burlingtonhypnosis.ca. You've seen so many different people in your line of work, I would imagine, from young to old to everything in between.
Yeah.
Is there a success story where you started with an individual and you thought, wow, this is going to take a while, and it just developed to a point where you thought, wow, that was an amazing experience for them and for you?
Yeah, I mean, I never think this is going to take a while. I'd be like, hey, this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
Like maybe if it's a first date, perhaps
Okay.
that's what you want.
Yeah.
but the answer is an example of what you're talking about is a lot of times people will come in for a certain situation. And then for myself, because I've been self-employed, my husband's self-employed, I'm also not only fascinated about humans themselves, but even business models, how businesses work. And so that curiosity brought me over to clients coming in, whether it's stress management, smoking, weight loss, or whatever it is. And then they're like, hey, I have a business. I need you to come into my business and help with my staff and get them communicating better. So, so over the last while, I've been going into businesses and helping staff communicate, even because there's been so much change and transition over the past 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So the world is very much a different place, for 3 years we were forced to follow rules, follow the arrows, wear a mask and all this stuff to keep us safe, of course. And so it's our nervous system coming out of that and being, because we're almost in this hypnotic trance of like, what are the rules? Right? Whereas the rules are gone now. And so from a nervous system perspective, we're still looking for them. So even in the workplace, it's like people are looking for rules or processes, where there's a lot of businesses that they're more freedom, and and any business owner, you cannot have any kind of stagnancy. Right? The change happens regardless of any business owner. Look at Blockbuster, right? If you try to keep your business the same, it's not gonna fly. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this topic because I have read stories or even sensed individuals where they really liked the rules from the pandemic. It was, they probably really liked structure in their lives, and the rules kind of catered to that kind of appetite. So for now to have a remote workforce or a hybrid workforce or a bit of both in the same workplace, that's got to be challenging for a lot of individuals.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. So there's different archetypes that humans fall into, and the most dramatic opposites is somebody that's really freedom minded. So an example of that would be like a salesperson, an entrepreneur, skydiver, like something like that they're totally cool with lots of risk.
Right.
Or the opposite to that is security minded, right? So in a lot of couples, there's one of each, because the security minded person that likes things safe and secure, right? They're everything in life, they're trying to prove that they're safe and secure, and they live their life in that way. They create a groundingness to their partner that's freedom minded. And for the security minded people being partnered up with a freedom minded person, they live vicariously through the excitement or the freedom of that. So, but it's interesting because then once you delve into, say, like finances or raising the kids, it's very different because the approach is different. They're opposites attract. That's, true. And, there's always exceptions to the rules, right? But in general, that is, the pockets that people fall into in opposite sides of things. So even when you're looking as a business owner, the business owner would be freedom-minded. A lot of the staff would be security-minded.
Right.
So the owner, sometimes that's the communication disconnect. The owner is just like, okay, let's go in this direction. And then the staff's like, we need every box ticked. What do we do?
Are you sure? Yes.
Yeah. And once people find out about this, and whether it's a couple, whether it's a business, whether it's, an individual, that's part of the pathway that they're learning to communicate with themselves and others.
Do you do this, and we only got about a minute, do you do this in a one-on-one setting, or is this you at the front of a room, in a boardroom, whatever the case is, talking to, the entire kind of staff to make them aware of, how they can get from A to B?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah. So I do group and like one-on-ones, so that there's individual change and group dynamics change. So it has to be generally both.
Well, really fascinating stuff. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners have as well. Again, to book your free hypnosis screening, call the Burlington Hypnosis Center at 905-634-4777. That's 905-634-4777. Online, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. You've been listening to Human Behavior Decoded on 900 CHML.
The proceeding was a paid commercial program. Unless otherwise identified, the guests on the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of 900 CHML.